I'm going to demonstrate my family's matza minhag for making matza brei. We do the scrambled egg savory style. Now, matza brei in Yiddish means fried matzah. In German, brei means mush, and it's also called in Israel matza metugenet. So it's fried matzah. There are scholars who believe that the egg version originated in North America, brought from Ashkenazi Jews, although Jews have been frying matzah for many, many years, either in schmaltz, if it's, or oil, if it was a meat meal, or butter, if it was a dairy meal. So our family does the scrambled egg style of matzah, savory. And what I do is usually 1 egg per matzah board plus maybe an extra. So for our purposes, I will take 3 matzah boards and 2 eggs. So first, I grab the eggs, and they will get scrambled up with some milk, and then and salt and pepper. Oh, that's a bit of shell. No, it's a bit of blood. Okay, let's try again. This is why you crack your egg into a dish before you start your recipe. You take a little peek to make sure there's no blood in it. 1, 2. This was probably the 2nd time in my entire life I have found blood in an egg. Okay, so we'll scramble this up. Add a little milk, salt and pepper to your taste, and that's nice and mushy. You take your matzah boards and you go to the sink and you very briefly wet them in very, very hot water, which is not ready yet. So these go into the compost while we wait for our water to get hot. And I run them under the water on both sides. So 1, 2, 3, then I flip it over, 1, 2, 3. Let it drain. My mother taught me this recipe. My mother was a very decent home cook, and she was very interested in cooking and recipes. When we lived in Spain, and then you crumble it into the bowl and let it soak for a minute. My mother wrote a cookbook translating Spanish recipes into English for American cooks. She called it Making It in the Kitchen Spanish Style. And rather saucy, and I illustrated it as a little girl. I did some cartoons.
What got her to Spain?
My father was in the Air Force, and we traveled where he took us. So I lived in Spain from the time I was, I think, 7 until I was 12. All right, now you heat your pan. All right, you heat your pan. You put a nice splash of, I use either butter or coconut oil, or the extra light olive oil, which I'm not sure you can get kosher the Pesach. So, but at any rate, a mild olive oil, and don't be shy. You don't want it to stick, which I have a Pesach pan that doesn't stick, but this might. So, meanwhile, our eggs have nicely soaked up the mixture. And as soon as the oil gets hot, we will fry. And in they go. I hope it sizzles. You want that sizzling sound. Always. Well, close enough. Now, we'll let it cook. And like I said, my family's custom is scrambled egg style.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do it pancake style. Some people do it tortilla style. Of course, the best way is scrambled egg style. Some people make it sweet, which I thought was absolutely disgusting until I thought of French toast.
Right.
So there you have it. How bad can that be? So, starting to sizzle a little bit. You let them cook, you scramble this up. When my children were small, we would go to my mother's for Pesach for the week. She lived in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, and the cousins would all come, and everybody had to have Aunt Nancy's matza brei.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take 2 boxes every morning and about 2 dozen eggs.
Right.
And a quart of milk.
Mm-hmm.
And had a pan this big and would make matza brei for everybody. And here it is. Almost cooked.
Any particular toppings or side dishes or?
No, we make, fruit. For breakfast, we didn't, in my family, we don't limit it to breakfast, although it's a commonly eaten as a breakfast meal. When we did it with breakfast, we would do fruit in addition. And if it was not breakfast, it was always a main course. It wasn't a side dish.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is.
Beautiful.
Savory matza brei, scrambled egg style. The Shapiro Kahane family tradition.
Beautiful. Toda rabbi.
And there we have it.
Hello, my name is Melanie Silva and I'm a member of Shirat Hayam. I have my trusty cameraman and director with me behind the camera, my son Ethan. And today we're going to talk to you about matza brei. Matza brei literally in Yiddish means fried matzah. And it is believed to be originally Ashkenazi, although there are different arguments as to where it actually originated from, whether it's the US or Europe. There are different views about it. Matza brei is a staple of Passover. It is a mixture of matzah and egg, sometimes other things as well. People put milk in, they can put chicken stock in. There are different ways to do it. I'm going to just show you how we do it at my house. But I'm also going to tell you there are a load of new recipes these days that adapt regular dishes for the Passover table. Joe Nathan, who's a really well-known cookery writer in kosher world, talks about matza brei chilaquiles, which is a Mexican dish where tortilla chips are replaced with matzah, cooked matzah. And I managed to find also a matza brei type macaroni and cheese. I'm not going to talk about it because it's so far away from anything I know, but go ahead and Google it if that's something you'd like to try. Okay, so we start the holiday usually in our house by making enough cinnamon sugar for the holiday, and we serve that with matza brei, although there are lots of different accompaniments and toppings, so I'm going to start there. So the recipe for the cinnamon sugar is 1/2 cup of superfine sugar and 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. If it's too much cinnamon for you, back it off. If you need more sugar, go ahead. Although in these days, I think we most want to encourage less sugar, not more. And so that's why I'm only making 1/2 cup, not more than that. And what we do is I use a whisk to mix it because it's much easier to do that than use a spoon or a fork. And then what we do is, I'm looking to see if it's all incorporated. It is. We put that in a jar at the beginning of the holiday and it's available to us for whatever dish we are going ahead and cooking. Matza brei in our house is usually parav. In many houses it's a dairy meal. You can add milk to your eggs, you can add chicken stock to your eggs, you can add plant milk to your eggs, whatever suits you. I have to say that we don't add anything to our eggs, and I think that comes from when Ethan was young, he was allergic to dairy, and so we didn't really use very much milk in the house, and it's what we're used to. But there are no strict rules about what you add. And also, another big thing, a big difference between most American recipes and what I grew up with, we don't soak the matzah in water. There's another recipe called aufgefrischte matza, where you soak the matzah in water and you break it up and you eat it with either salt or with cinnamon sugar or sugar, but we don't dampen or make our matzah damp. In my research for this video, I was able to see that there are many different methods of preparing the matzah using water, some hot water, some cold water. And what I wrote down was soak in hot water for 30 seconds, spray with water, or run under a faucet in a strainer, which I think is like runs the gamut, so you basically can do whatever you choose. And the reason why we don't do it is because we like a bit of crispness left in our matzah. So what we do is we tend to break our matzah into quite small pieces, and I'm going to show you what they look like. Okay, and our ratio is 2 boards of matzah to 1.5 eggs. Some people will do a board of matzah to 1 egg, some people go 2 eggs. It really is what you're used to. So if we break up the matzah, it's quite small, and I'm doing that now. Until it's pretty much a uniform size. You don't want it completely without character, but it looks like that. So 3 eggs, this is my 3rd egg. I'm going to put them together, and then I'm going to take my trusty little whisk and whisk them. They should be well incorporated. And then you add the egg in its entirety. And you use a nice fork to mix up your mixture. At this point, if it's savoury, you can add salt and pepper. You might want to add a whole load of other things. I can see adding onion powder, I can see adding garlic powder, any other spice that you want, that you think you would like to accompany it. There's a big move to use hot sauce and stuff like that, if that's your thing. So you mix your mixture up and leave it for 2 or 3 minutes. And that's sort of what we would do. If you've made your matzah softer, you may not have to leave it as long. So I'll join you by the stove. So in the frying pan, I have a mixture of butter and olive oil. If you want it to be parav, you can use olive oil only. For those of you who are willing to do that, you can use schmaltz if you want it to be fleischig. Also, some people fry onions first, they fry other things first, and they add the matza brei afterwards. So I've got my butter foaming, so I'm going to add my matza brei mixed in its entirety into the frying pan. And I'm going to spread it out across the base of the frying pan. Now, there are several schools of thought about what you should do and how much you should break it up. It really is an individual thing. It depends on what you like. I like to let it set for a little bit before I do anything else. So this has been cooking for a very short time, and you can see that one side is already cooked. So I'm going to start breaking it up and redistributing it again. I like it quite loose. I know other people who want it really well cooked. So it really is whatever your preference, and there is no right way, it's just the way that you like it. Okay. And when it's reached the doneness that you would like, you can serve it onto your plate. So as my grandfather, Papa Herman, who was Belgian, used to do, he couldn't make up his mind if he wanted it sweet or savoury. So he used to split it in half. Easier said than done, right? And put salt on one side cinnamon sugar on the other side, and he'd eat the salt side first and the cinnamon sugar side second. So while I was making the matza brei this morning, I was struck by inspiration. I'm not suggesting that the recipe I'm going to share with you is not all over the internet. I've got no idea, I haven't looked. But it struck me that there's a trend today to make individual muffin-shaped things that aren't typically muffin-shaped. For example, individual muffin meatloaves, individual breakfast muffins with potatoes and eggs and stuff like that in. And so I thought, let me try and see if I can make an individual matza brei muffin. And so I made a mixture with a board of matza to 1 egg. I didn't do it to 2. And I got my muffin pan and greased it with spray oil. And then I use a potato scoop, and I scoop in about 1 scoop's worth of the mixture. Now, you can take your standard matza brei mixture if you want to add salt, a little salt if it's a sweet one, you can, or you can add salt and seasonings if you want to make it savoury. And I made muffins, and I put them in the oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. If you like them on the softer side, do it the 10 minutes. If you like them more substantial, do them the 12 minutes. And I'm going to put these in the oven, and then I'll show you what they look like when they come out. So these are my matza brei muffins. They can be for savoury or sweet. They can be for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They could even make mini muffins and make them like a little, reception food, whatever. And you can add any of the toppings you want to them. You can flavour them before you cook them. And I just thought it was a different presentation, so I thought you might like to see that. We hope you enjoyed that. We wish you all a happy and kosher Pesach, a Zizan Pesach, and we send our best wishes from Ethan and Melanie and the Silver family.
Hi and happy Pesach. Matza brei was a tradition in my family since as far as I can remember. And on the first morning of Pesach and the second morning of Pesach, unless it's Shabbat, matza brei is made for the entire family. We'll miss them this year, and so hope they'll watch this with you. They're the cousins sitting around the table on Pesach morning. You see the matza brei on the plate over here. Because of the pandemic and families not getting together this year to the extent that we normally expect to, I've decided to show you how to make matza brei for 2. So we have 2.5 matzahs, 2 eggs, and 2 ounces of milk. We're going to take the 2.5 matzahs and bring them over the sink where our plate is ready, and run them under warm water and stack them up. Check them for blood spots. And our milk. The milk and the eggs together. And we're going to turn the butter on now. At about medium, because we want the butter to turn brown, separate and turn brown. And fold each piece in half, and the other way, and back again, and again, until they're about bite-sized pieces. It doesn't have to be perfect. It won't be perfect. The most important thing is that you're patient and you not put the mixture in the pan earlier than the butter has separated and browned. So here you can see that it's separating, but it's not brown yet. So we're going to be patient. Possibilities for toppings when you're done are date honey, regular honey, syrup, sugar, cinnamon sugar, or I've also made it for dinner when I put mushrooms in, sauteed mushrooms and onions in. You're tempted, but it's still not time yet. See how it's darkening here? And here we go. And let it cook away. After flipping it, you can see that it's nice and golden brown. And as you see, we have a beautiful omelet on which you can put any of the toppings or any of the things that you would put in a bread pudding or a French toast. You could add here fresh fruit on top. I can't think of anything that wouldn't taste good on it. Now, earlier this morning, I tried using gluten-free matza just to see how that would work. And it really didn't work so well. So I would suggest that if gluten-free is the way you're going to go, that you have plenty of toppings ready. And with that, I wish you all a Zisem Pesach.
Good evening, and welcome to our very first ever Shirat Hayam pairing of matza brei and wine. Now that your eyes and appetites have been opened, it's time for the most important component of a truly fulfilling matza brei experience, the pairing of brei and brew. Well, not brew really, wine. With your sweet matza brei, sugar, cinnamon sugar, syrup, jam, or something else. So I'll recommend the Recanati Sauvignon Blanc 2018 Galilee. It's got a nice full body. On another hand, the Baron Herzog White Zinfandel 2017 from California says that it's flavors of strawberry and cotton candy. You might want to test that out before you serve it to company. For your savories, you really want to go red, something more robust to stand up to the deeper flavors of the savory matza brei. And here I can recommend the Har Tabor, which says that it preserves the natural flavor of the grapes, which is a great thing for a wine to do. Or go with the Binyamina Yogev blend. They work their wine growers night and day for your dining pleasure. The Zamora Cabernet Sauvignon, the Agur, the Gilgal, you can't go wrong with these. Baron Herzog Paso Robles 2013 has nice blackberry and spice. So whatever you choose, test them out over and over if need be, and enjoy. And if you can't make up your mind, you can fall back on the old tried and true Manischewitz. So wishing you a happier Pesach, Chag Sameach.